gonna be 53.
My birthday's this week, and we've decided to go to Chattanooga for a family outing for my birthday. We're gonna do the Chattanooga Duck Tours. So we got Bobby Wayne with us. Got my mama. We've got Colt and Beretta back there. Not sure if they show up. But Aunt Fonzie, she decided not to go, so it's just the 5 of us. Going through Dunlap. Mountains are beautiful. Looks like they've cleared out for the electrical lines, utility lines. Tennessee's got some beautiful scenery. The scenic overlook. Yes, on one of our first dates. It was our second or third date, Wayne. Over there's a couple of the duck tour boats. And over there's where we go to check in. But we've got to go pay for parking first. But we got the family getting ready to go. So we paid $8 for parking. And we bought our tickets online. Do y'all remember riding your e-bikes through here? It was $34.99 a person, and they had online waivers to sign. Chattanooga Ducks this way. We're gonna go check in. For every passenger, you get a moon pie, because Tennessee's known for moon pies. And there's our boarding token. And Beretta got him a pressed penny. It's of the Southern Belle, which you go check in at the Southern Belle.
What's your
USS Enterprise. Are you excited? Is this your first time? Oh, you've been on it before?
No, this one.
Stone Mountain. This is our first. Maybe it'll be fun. Do you think you'll get wet where you're at?
Hope not.
I agree with Mom. There he comes, Mr. America. Looks like school bus seats. Hi guys. Are we excited?
Ready for a duck ride?
Yes.
Get ready to get wet?
No.
Major hesitation in your voices there, folks. We're at duck. Ducks in the water, ducks get wet, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you bring a bathing suit and towels? I got some extra paper towels. You get 2 in, all right? All right, guys. Welcome aboard. My name is Rob. I'll be your boat captain or your bus driver, depending on where we are throughout our trip. We're on land, we're a bus. So just like a school bus you got before, please no running around, no throwing anything. Keep your hands inside the bus, your feet inside the bus, your heads inside the bus. Which one's my troublemaker? No one's claiming it? We're all pointing. When we're driving down the road, you guys see someone walking in a direction, please do not reach to the window, try to whack them on the back of the head, give them a high five. Because you may get them, we may all laugh, but that tree or street sign that you didn't see, we're not laughing anymore. So please keep everything on the duck, we're driving on land. I've been working in the water for over 30 years, been a licensed U.S. Coast Guard captain for over 25 years. In my entire career, I've asked people to put life jackets on. Never. So if I ask you guys to do it today, you all get to be my first. Do I need to point out the emergency exits?
So we have 24 on board.
Yeah, where's it go?
Why do they
Land
call
in water
it
like
a
a duck
duck?
does, right? Who likes that answer? Sounds pretty good. You guys ever seen a duck fly?
Yes.
Yeah, ducks fly. You guys want to see us fly?
No.
Someone say yes.
No.
Get off the boat. You see us flying, maybe I'm taking a ton of bridge I should not be on. And those life jackets we talked about earlier, we're not going to need anymore. We need a parachute. So no, that's not what I call them, a duck. If I asked you guys how to spell duck, how would most of you guys normally spell duck? D-U-C-K. Guys, with English class, you'd be correct. You work for the government or the military, you'd be wrong. The way the government or the military spelled duck was D-U-K-W. The reason they spelled it way back when GM built these things for the military, they put letters in front of it that signify certain things. D stood for 1942. 1942 is the year these ducks were designed. U stood for utility vehicle. Before this was a duck, it was an old utility truck, the old 2.5 ton truck. Military had thousands of. K stood for all-wheel drive. I take this gear here, push it all the way forward. All 6 of my wheels would start to turn. Then W stood for dual wheel axle. There are 2 powered axles in the back of the truck. So D-U-K-W, duckwa, everyone used to pronounce it. Eventually, we just started calling these things ducks. So they got the name. Now the question is, why did they make them? Well, have any of you guys ever heard of a boat called the Higgins boat? No? Have you ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan? At the very beginning of that movie, Saving Private Ryan, there are a bunch of boats that are heading towards the shore. A little bit wider than the boat, a little bit longer than this boat, had a big door on the front of them. So that beach, that big door fell forward and all the guys came running out. Those were Higgins boats. And those boats are really good for getting lots of people and lots of supplies to the shore. The problem with those boats, they're heading towards shore, if they hit a sandbar, that's as far as they could go. They couldn't actually get up over that sandbar. So they hit the sandbar, they dropped their door, all the guys come running out. Problem. What usually happens after a sandbar? More water. More deep water, actually. So if you're a soldier and you got 50 pounds of gear in your back, all of a sudden you fight for like a 10, 15 feet of water, you got a problem. So basically the U.S. military needed something that could hit that sandbar, get up and over, and get back towards you, up the beach and load all their supplies of soldiers. But also the front lines that move several miles inland, they usually drove in the beach to get up in the main roads and maybe drive 2 or 3 miles to the front lines. So basically they're looking for a boat that go on land or a truck that go in the water. So the U.S. military looked around, they found this boat designer from California and said, hey, can you help us design a boat that go on land? The guy said, I'll see what I can do. 28 days later, this is what they came up with. Instead of reinventing the wheel, what they basically did was they took that old 2.5, that 2.5 ton truck they had thousands of, they put a bottom on it, put a couple more sides on it, put a propeller up, put a rudder on it, turned that truck into this boat. Now they really weren't too sure how successful they could be with them, only made about 200 of them. Sent them around the country, different military base guys to experiment with, play with, see what they thought of, what they liked about them, what they didn't like about them, what they thought they could do to prove to make them any better. They didn't like anything about these things. They're extremely slow, bulky, cumbersome. Nobody liked them so much, they want to scrap the program and get rid of them. In fact, they're getting ready to scrap the program until one day in Provincetown, Massachusetts, there was a Coast Guard patrol boat that ran aground on a sandbar during a big northeaster. Huge cold front came through, that boat ran aground. When that boat ran aground, they tried to send other boats out to rescue them. Every time they set about to rescue those guys that close to that sandbar, they either had the fear of running around that sandbar themselves or capsized because it was so rough out. They thought they're going to lose the guys. Well, there happened to be one of these experimental ducks in the area. Hey, do you guys ready to help them out? All right, we'll see what we can do. They drove this thing down the road, got to the beach, drove down the beach, through the surf, probably 70 foot waves in the beach, to back to that sandbar where the Coast Guard patrol boat was, pulled up right alongside of them. Guys in the Coast Guard boat jumped on board the duck. They drove off the sandbar, re-engaged propeller, drove up the beach, rescued the guys in about 5 minutes. So what no other boat could do, these ducks did in about 5 minutes. After that, the U.S. military said, you know what, we need to have a whole bunch more of these things. So throughout World War II, ended up making about another 20,000 of these ducks and were extremely successful in World War II. First time they ever used these ducks during World War II was during the invasion of Sicily, then used them around D-Day, and of course used on the Pacific. So like I said, very successful World War II. The other thing you could use these ducks for is once they're done unloading all their supplies, their soldiers, they're almost a perfect width for stretchers. They can load up wounded soldiers this way, then double stack them this way. Get out to the beaches. Once you go to the beaches, the other boats, they get just drive straight to the water. Keep heading out to the main ships, the guys get treatment. As I said, very successful World War II. Any of you guys ever heard of underground Chattanooga? Well, Chattanooga used to flood all the time. In fact, the people in Chattanooga get tired of going to water. They took it upon themselves to solve their problem. What they did was they took the top of Cameron Hill, can't see it right now, but I'll point out the river. They took the top of Cameron Hill, brought it into their city streets, and raised their city streets anywhere between 15 and 30 feet. So some of these older buildings, when you walk into them, you think you're actually walking into the first floor, actually walking to the second floor, possibly even the third floor. First 2 floors actually buried underground. Because the people chatting kind of did it themselves, nobody really documented it, so it's actually kind of hard to know which buildings actually have those first floors that were buried underground. So the parking garage, you pass back there, has a level that goes underground. They believe that underground section is what the original level of Chattanooga used to be. So I'll talk a little bit more about underground Chattanooga once we get to the river. This building on to my right here is called the Tivoli Theater, also known as the Tivy or the Jewel of the South. The Tivoli Theater opened back in May of 1921. On opening day, the Yosemite Symphony played along with showing the movie Forbidden Fruit. Admission to the Yosemite Symphony and the movie, depending where you sat in the theater, was anywhere between 15 and 55 cents back in 1921. Yosemite Theaters opened about 5 or 6 years before they became one of the first commercial buildings in the country to have air conditioning. Yosemite Theaters opened about 35, 40 years before they closed down. The last movie they showed, White and the Three Stooges. They closed about 2 years, they renovated that building, reopened it 2 years later to the beautiful building it is today. This building off to my right here is called the Reed House, the Reed Hotel, formerly known as the Crutchfield House, built just over 170 years ago, just at the Civil War. During the Civil War, the Crutchfield House was used by the Union Army as a hospital. Once the Civil War was over, the Crutchfield House went back to hotel. 2 years after the Civil War was over, the Crutchfield House burned to the ground. Sat for several years. Eventually, Dr. John Reed bought the privately built Reed Hotel there. Over the years, Reed House has a pretty major renovation to itself. The most recent renovation, in about 2.5, 3 years ago, they did almost $25 million, bringing that building back to the Great Gatsby's, the Roaring Twenties. Absolutely gorgeous inside there. Any guys been inside the Reed House? No, you can't just spend that. Get the chance to walk around that first floor. It's beautiful, well worth walking around. Supposed one of the best steakhouses in Chattanooga, one of the most expensive steakhouses, but one of the best. When the contractors came in to renovate that building last time, they came and took all the doors off all the rooms, just making it easy to get out of the rooms. When they got to room 311, they couldn't open the door. The key wouldn't work, the lock wouldn't work, nothing would work. They literally had to cut the room with a saw. When they got into room 311, out of the entire hotel, there was only one room that had burst pipes in it. That was in room 311. They claim that room 311 is haunted by a ghost by the name of Annalisa that was murdered in that room. Now, the interesting part about that story is they claim that she only messes with men. Because she was murdered by a man, she only haunts men. So men and women are going in that room. The men are the ones that feel like someone's sitting next to the bed, someone putting a hand on their shoulder. I've seen videos of people spend the night in that room. They say they went to bed with all the windows shut. They wake up a couple hours later, seven of the windows been open. Doors been open and closed, lights been turned on and off. I don't know if that room is really haunted or not. They used to do free tours or go there, check it out for yourself. They are now renting that room out for those who are gutsy enough to want to spend the night in the room. Now, how much do you think they want to charge you to spend one night in that room? Any guesses? Oh, it is a lot. Only $666 a night. Yeah. One, that's way too much money for a hotel room, but two, I definitely don't like that number. So I don't believe they rent that room a whole lot right now, but if you like ghost stories, go to the front desk, ask if anyone's staying in room 311. If no one is in room 311, I believe they're still doing those free tours. Like ghost tours, check it out. That is also the same room that Al Capone supposedly kept him while he was here in Chattanooga waiting for a special trial. Go in the room, look at the windowsill. You notice remnants of bars still sitting on the windowsill they had cut out of there. They supposedly put Al Capone in that room because specifically that it was haunted or supposedly haunted. And someone asked Al Capone whether he noticed any ghosts in the room. According to Al Capone, he said there were no ghosts in the room, or he didn't notice any ghosts in the room. So, although I think if I was Al Capone, I wouldn't have said anything either way. Building on the corner of here is called the Chattanooga Whiskey Company. That's their newest distillery. They just celebrated their 10th anniversary a couple years ago. The original distillery is downtown, right across from Chattanooga Choo Choo. Really neat facility. I'll talk about them in a little bit. Look off to our left there. That is Lookout Mountain. Who's been to Lookout Mountain? Anybody? A couple of really nice attractions up there. Ruby Falls. Great location up there. Actually, take an elevator all the way down to the bottom. Once you down to the bottom, mark that cave system. Very end of that cave system, beautiful waterfall. Rock City, kind of like a big rock garden, big cracks and crevices, gorgeous views of Disney Islands. They say on a clear day from the plump at Rock City, you can see up to 7 different states. Beautiful. Incline Railroad, unfortunately, you guys, the Incline Railroad is closed right now. They had a fire in the springtime this year, and they burned part of the tracks. So they're still in the process of fixing the tracks, but they should be open probably about middle of June, I think, late first part of June, middle of June. So you have to come back. If you do come back, I recommend you do it more so in the afternoon. In the morning time, that sun kind of gets you right in the face, a little bit harder to see. If you like Civil War history, then we go up there and check out Point Park. Beautiful Civil War, that great views up there, also the great history. Especially great views looking back into the city of Chattanooga, also great views looking back into the gorge. If you want to watch a great sunset, go up there and check out Sunset Rock. Just get there early though, because the parking lot is pretty small. It does fill up pretty quickly. I can only run probably 8 or 9 cars to the gorgeous views. About a half a mile walk from the parking lot to the bus, slightly going downhill getting there, so slightly uphill coming back, but absolutely well worth it. I have any whiskey drinkers on board the boat? Couple of, like, we just passed the Chattanooga Whiskey out back there. That's their newest distillery. Their original distillery is downtown, right across from Chattanooga Choo Choo. So they should do a tour of that facility. They show you they make their whiskey. They're into that tour. You just get to sample their whiskey. So if you like whiskey, it's a real neat little tour. If you don't like whiskey, just down the street from the place called the Hot Chocolate Tier, everything in their chocolate is really good.
Woo.
So there's somebody group likes chocolate, somebody group likes whiskey. One goes to the whiskey place, one goes to the chocolate place, and that's where you're both happy. Or if you have kids, send the kids to the chocolate place, you go to the whiskey place, meet them afterwards, you're really happy afterwards. Although someone last year said send the kids to the whiskey place, you're even happier. Alright, guys ready to get in the water?
Yes.
Guys ready to get wet?
No.
Well, you're on the wet side of the boat. No. What I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to take my foot of the brake. We'll start cruising down the ramp. Hit the one hitting a brick wall. Hit that water. We will sit up really quickly. You two up front here. Don't hit the piece of metal in front of you there. You have purses, camera bags, water bottles, souvenirs, old bags of food, any little ones sit with you. Hold on to that stuff. Make sure it don't go sliding off your seat all the way up to me. Did anyone bring any buckets of beer? Because
No.
that you don't have to hold on to. Let that slide up to me. I'll take care of it. Everything else, hold on to. You guys in the very last row, hang on, because you're sitting in the fun seat. When I hit the water, the back of this boat sometimes bounces funny. If you guys are not paying attention when I hit the water, if I turn around and look back, there's one or two of you guys sitting on the floor. It's usually the person with the camera phone. Because what happens is you put both hands on your phone, put it this close to your face, that's all you're looking at is on the ramp. Awesome, amazing. With the water they go, yep, he's sitting on the floor. You want to film it? Go for it. One hand for your phone, one hand for yourself. Put your feet on the seat in front of you at the very bottom, both feet on the floor. That should keep you from sliding off the seat there too. As long as you're paying attention, not too engrossed in your phone, we should be good. Alright, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
3 people are ready. I said, you guys ready?
Yeah.
You want me to go fast or slow?
Yes.
Slow? Who else said slow?
Me.
Okay. Is this slow enough for you? Can I go a little faster?
A little
Okay, just a little faster.
Oh, sugar britches. Oh, sugar britches. Wow.
You got a little water coming in the back there. Other than the guys in the back, did anyone else get wet? Yeah.
Me.
You a little bit? Yeah, I gotta stop hitting the brakes. Although maybe at the end of the trip we'll try it backwards. You guys might really get wet then.
Did you get wet? Is that fun?
Come on. Alright, well Chattanooga's kind of got a very interesting history in the sense of how it's grown up over the years. Because of this very here, because of the railroad system here in Chattanooga, Chattanooga is very prone for industry. Because the railroad system was here, usually easy to get supplies in Chattanooga. Once the supply is made, the products, usually those finished products, out of Chattanooga. So Chattanooga very naturally grew up as a very industrialized city. Especially during the Civil War, industry was really starting to take off here. The railroad system was really starting to come into its prime. Once the Civil War started, the Confederate Army kind of used Chattanooga as a main hub. Because that railroad system ran from the Atlanta area to the Alabama area, ran right through Chattanooga. Chattanooga kind of became that central part of their supply line. Very vital to the Confederate Army. One of the reasons why the Union Army said, if we want to win this war, we need to take over Chattanooga. Once the Union Army did take over Chattanooga, they ended up using Chattanooga as their launching point for the invasion of the South, their march towards Atlanta. Once the Civil War was over, a lot of those Union soldiers came back to Chattanooga for a couple reasons. One, Chattanooga had always kind of been a very Union-friendly city. They figured they'd be welcome back here. But two, they saw the potential for growth. They saw industry was taking off here before the war. They saw how easy it was to get supplies and products in and out of Chattanooga during the war. They figured they came back to Chattanooga, reinvested into the city, they'd be able to make a lot of money. And they were correct. Over the years, industry grew and grew and grew. And by the 1950s and 1960s, Chattanooga had become one of the top 10 most industrialized cities in the United States. It was booming here. Just in the downtown area, there were probably over 100 different factories working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was great here. Businesses were making money. Factories were making money. All the shops around town were making money. Unemployment pretty much non-existent. Everybody had a job and wanted a job. Chattanooga's going really good here in Chattanooga. Everything except for one thing. What is the byproduct of all these factories making their products? Pollution, waste, smog. The waste and pollution during the 1950s and 1960s here in Chattanooga was horrendous. On a normal day, those mountains right there, you couldn't see those mountains, so much haze and smog in the air. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I might have to drive around with my headlights on because it was so dark out. People would do their laundry in the morning, hanging out to dry. By the time it was done drying in the afternoon, half the time it was dirty when you started with it. So it was terrible here. People were dying of emphysema. It was nasty. Well, then in 1969, some of you adults remember this name. Most of you adults should remember this name. Famous CBS Evening News reporter by the name of Walter Cronkite. Walter Cronkite, 1969, came from the CBS Evening News called Chattanooga the dirtiest city in America. Once Walter Cronkite called Chattanooga the dirtiest city in America, the U.S. government got involved. The U.S. government, since they knew that investigation was going on, once they got down, all these factories working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they're like, there's your problem. Look at all this pollution. We need to do something about it. All you factories are working 3 shifts a day. We need you to cut it back to 2 shifts a day. We need to reduce the production so we can reduce the pollution. So they did. They started getting these factories cutting back on the production. Well, that reduced the pollution about that much. Didn't do a whole lot for the pollution, but if you had a 3rd shift job, you're unemployed. All of a sudden, unemployment rate started to go up here in Chattanooga. The production rate started to go down. The pollution still pretty much remained about the same. So the government stepped in again and started getting these factories to come back up for production. Now, what happens to a factory when it's not making a whole lot of products? It's not making any money, shuts down, goes bankrupt, moves. What happens to all those people who used to work for those factories? Unemployed, they leave town. During the 1980s, Chattanooga became a ghost town. All the people in town, all the industry in town. Like Barry, the guy driving the duck today, he grew up here in Chattanooga. He used to say during the 1980s, Riverfront Drive, where we just drove down on, said you could fall asleep in the middle of that road on a Friday, Saturday night, not have to worry about getting run over. There was nobody here. So during the 1980s, the mayor and the city council were talking, what can we do to start bringing people back to Chattanooga? What can we do to revitalize our city? Hence Tennessee Aquarium. 1992, they opened up the world's largest freshwater aquarium. 2005, they opened up the saltwater aquarium. And the aquarium did exactly what they needed to do. It started bringing people back to Chattanooga, started to revitalize our city. In fact, I actually volunteered for the Tennessee Aquarium as one of their scuba divers. You guys ever do go inside the aquarium, sitting there scrubbing the reef, waving at you, feeding the fish, playing with the sharks? Might be me. But one of the videos I had to watch to become a volunteer showed a clip from the TV show from the game show Jeopardy! On that game show, one of the questions was, where's the world's largest freshwater aquarium? Answer, Chattanooga, Tennessee. So we must have found that on the map because we've been on Jeopardy! So the aquarium did what they needed to do. Chattanooga started to go back to life. We've actually been on 2 game shows. Have you guys heard of the new game show called Masterminds? It's been about 4 or 5 years now. I was working about 4 years ago. One of the questions on that show was, name the city that has an airport that can run 100% on solar power. Chattanooga Airport has a solar field that can run its entire airport. And granted, we do have a pretty small airport, but some people say we've actually gone from one of the dirtiest cities in the country, now it's one of the cleanest cities in the country. So we're really famous, but we've been on 2 game shows. I was not scuba diving this morning. I dive on Mondays, and my next one's in about 2 weeks. So no, you didn't see me. Well, welcome to Tennessee River. The Tennessee River is 652 miles long. Starts all the way up in Knoxville, Tennessee, ends in Chattanooga, Kentucky, where it joins the Ohio River, eventually the Mississippi River, and eventually was all the way down to New Orleans and out to the Gulf of Mexico. Now, if you look at Tennessee River on a map, it looks like a big horseshoe. You start zooming in and looking at it closely, you'll notice this river twists and turns and winds. As it winds all these mountain ranges, one of the things that makes this river such a beautiful river is the same thing as to make this river potentially treacherous or dangerous river. The Whitewater Rapids that used to be on this river when the dams are built, when it's a whole lot lower, extremely dangerous. This river actually flows in every direction of the compass. North, south, east, and west. this river actually flows north. Chattanooga, Kentucky is actually about 70 miles north of Knoxville, Tennessee, where the river starts. So this river flows north and redirects to the compass. About 11 miles downriver is the Tennessee Valley Gorge. Absolutely beautiful down there. They call it the Grand Canyon of the East. Mountains get really high, the river gets really narrow. Beautiful down there. But when it would rain for days and days and days, and all that rain within the Smoky Mountains come up like those are flowing into this river, when those millions of gallons of water would flow down there into that narrow restriction of the gorge, did all the water go to the gorge at one time? No. It couldn't go to the gorge. Where'd all the water go? It backed up and overflow. Where would it back up to? Chattanooga. Chattanooga was known for flooding. In fact, the worst flood in Chattanooga's history was back in 1867, just over 150 years ago. That flood was so bad here in Chattanooga, they have estimated if the Tennessee Aquarium had been sitting there during that flood, they believe the floodwaters would have reached about 10 to 15 feet below from where the glass starts on the aquarium. So you take that to that all around Chattanooga, there was a lot of water in the city. And it was not uncommon for Chattanooga to flood every year, sometimes maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Hence underground Chattanooga. They literally took the top of Cameron Hill right into the city streets and raised their city streets anywhere between 15 and 30 feet. Well, from the bridge in front of me to the bridge behind me, this whole riverfront here is called Ross's Landing. And it's named Ross's Landing in honor of Chief John Ross of the Cherokee Indians. Now, John Ross was born here, but his family had been here for several generations. Because his family had been here for several generations, they become very good friends with the Cherokee Indians. In fact, the Cherokees and the Ross family were great friends. They loved each other, they respected each other, they looked after each other. Once John Ross had grown up, the Cherokee Indians started realizing there's a lot more white men in the area here. They started to realize they needed someone that understood the ways of the white man, also understood the Cherokee Indians. As these two nations were beginning to merge, they needed someone that understood both cultures. So the Cherokee Indians asked John Ross, if we elect you chief, will you accept it? John Ross said he would. So the Cherokees elected John Ross their principal chief. Now the interesting part about that story is, John Ross was only 1/8 Cherokee, but 7/8 Scottish. So basically the Cherokee Indians elected a Scotsman to be their principal chief. Now, my last name is MacDonald, so I'm very Scottish, so personally I think they made a great choice. And unfortunately they made a very good choice, because right around the time they elected him chief, they discovered gold here in the Tennessee Valley, in the Georgia area. Once they discovered gold here, what do you think they wanted to do with all the Indians? Get rid of them, get them out of here. About 20 years, John Ross went back and forth to Washington, D.C., fighting for the Cherokees, saying, this is their land, you have no right to kick them out of here. In 1830, Congress passed the Indian Removal Act to officially remove the Cherokees from the area here. Again, John Ross continued to fight for them. Eventually, a president said, you know, you're not really getting anywhere with Congress. Why don't you take your case to the Supreme Court? So he did. He took his case to the Supreme Court and actually won. The United States Supreme Court said, this is Cherokee Nation land. You have no right to kick them out of here. They have a right to stay. Well, you'd have thought that was the good end of the story. Unfortunately, it's not. Unfortunately, the President of the United States at the time was Andrew Jackson. When Andrew Jackson was growing up, his town and village was attacked by Indians. Many of his family members and friends were hurt and killed with Indians. He had a bad taste for the Indians. As he was a president, he would hear the Supreme Court said it was his job to enforce the laws of Congress. Congress had passed the Indian Removal Act, he was going to enforce that law. So in 1838, they forcibly removed the Cherokees all the way out to Oklahoma. Most of them marched on land, a lot of them put up barges and shipped out there. The real sad part of that story, during that over 1,200-mile forced removal of the Cherokee Indians, over 1/4 of the Indians passed away. Close to 4,000 Cherokee Indians passed away during that forced march. They call it the Trail Where We Cry, because they literally watched their family members dying along the way. We call it the Trail of Tears. And this right here is a memorial to the Cherokee Trail of Tears called The Passage. Now if you look at that brick wall, you notice there's 3 lines of writing. The very first line of writing is actually written in Cherokee Indian that spells out Ross's Landing. The Cherokee Indians were the only Native American Indians that actually had a written language. That's how you spell Ross's Landing in Cherokee. The line underneath it is how you pronounce Ross's Landing in Cherokee. Who wants to give it a try? Anyone? Come on, it's easy. Sounds like some babies back there. No. Ross's Landing. Easy. No. The way I pronounce it, I could be right on target. I could be 5 miles away from it. Is Gui Sagui Gadu Galavi. Outfit, isn't it? I suppose they had a Cherokee on board a couple years ago, so it was really close, so I'll take his word for it. That's how you spell Ross's Landing, that's how you pronounce Ross's Landing in Cherokee. Those 7 cannons right there, usually shooting out water. You guys in the back, you're lucky. I used to back the boat in there and try to cool you all off, but 4 of you guys are not working today. But there are 7 cannons there, 7 lights above the cannons, 7 Indians on the wall, 7 stars on the wall. Right hand side of that walkway, coming down that wall to the right there are 7 big medallions. 7 was a big number to the Cherokees for a couple reasons. 1, they had 7 tribes or clans in the Cherokee Nation. But 2, they always try to think about 7 generations in advance of decisions we make today. How is this going to affect us 7 generations from now? Not just my generation, my kids' generation, but of the 7 generations of our people, how are decisions going to affect us? Extremely smart on their part. That waterfall, that walkway that is normally flowing with water, sinking on the trail here. When it is flowing with water, you are allowed to walk in it, lay it, and go off in it. Just be careful, sometimes it does get slippery from the algae on it. So I'm recommend running up and down it, but a great place to relax and go off. Nice hot summer day here in Chattanooga. Oh, you run more history Cherokee than can the Trail of Tears. Another sad part of that story, during that forced removal, John Ross actually lost his wife. Little Indigo got really cold, she gave her a blanket. About 5 or 6 days later, she ended up coming down with pneumonia and passing away. So a very sad part of U.S. history, you'll have something like this to happen here. Kind of ironically, if you know a Cherokee it doesn't work for you, go to pay them, try to pay them with a $20 bill. A lot of times they won't take it from you. It's got Andrew Jackson's picture on it. They don't want anything to do with him. They'll take 2 cents or a 50 from you. They don't want to take a 20. And I don't really necessarily blame for that. Okay, I'm ready for a break. Give me a hand driving. Come here. Come here. Alright, have a seat there. I have a question for you. Can you see where you're going? No? Can you sit on your knees? Sit on your knees so you can see over the steering wheel. There you go. Now you can see where you're going. A couple years ago, there was a section outside of Ross Landing. The whole thing about 13, 14 miles long. I'm going to say 70-75% of that walkway is literally that close to the river. Right on the river here. Beautiful place to go on a bike ride, jog, or walk. Well, on tennis room, you're going to enjoy this beautiful river. One of the reasons now for the second time, Outdoor Magazine has voted Chattanooga the outdoor city of the country. We won that award from 8 or 9 years ago. That's about 5 or 6 years ago. Just that Chattanooga really does try to cater to a lot of outdoor events, a lot of outdoor activities. We normally have Ironmans, triathlons, marathons, bike races, rowing races, swimming races, walking races, kayak races, paddle races, free concerts, day concerts, art festivals, wine festivals. There's always a going on here in downtown Chattanooga. 6 years ago, we actually had 4 Ironman competitions here in Chattanooga in 1 year. I can't believe there are that many crazy people that want to torture themselves that much. None of you guys are marathon runners, are you? No crazy people? Okay. I don't want to insult anyone, but I thought marathon runners were a little bit crazy. Well, I have a new definition of the word insanity. A couple years ago, I was telling stories about marathons and laybooks, and her sister ran the 7th Bridges Marathon here in Chattanooga. Set a world record. I was like, awesome. Like, what was her time? No. She did it wearing high heels. Only women ever completed a marathon in high heels down here at the 7th Bridges Marathon in Chattanooga. 26.5 miles running in high heels. That's insanity. Keep going. The crazy part of that story is 2 weeks later, I was telling the same story. Label said, that was my friend, that was her handler. Handler? What do you need a handler for? I said, a couple weeks later, the lady was telling the same story. Label said, that was my friend, that was her handler. Like, what do you need a handler for? She said she had to carry 7 pairs of shoes for her friend as she ran the race because she broke heels and broke straps. But 2, her feet swelled so much, she had to go from a size 6 to a size 7 to a size 8. Look at the dictionary of the word insanity. I think her picture is there. But hey, she does have a world record though. 2 things I usually highly recommend you guys check out or do before leaving Chattanooga. Surprisingly, this is not one of them. The bridge we just wanted to eat, the Walnut Street Bridge, the Walk Bridge is one of them. Unfortunately for you guys, the bridge is closed. It's going to be closed. It's been closed for about a month now. It's going to be closed for about another month or a year and a half now. They're doing a major renovation to it. So it's the oldest bridge here in Chattanooga. It's not the original bridge. The very first bridge was built just after the Civil War by the Union Army. It was washed away in that great big flood. That was the next bridge they built. Remember, early in the trip, we were talking about all the people and all the industry in Chattanooga. We had no money, we had no tax revenue. Now, in the early 1980s, all 4 of these bridges had been built. This bridge, because it was so old, the maintenance on that bridge alone was almost the same as those 3 bridges combined. That's almost half our bridge budget. So the mayor and city council kind of come save money. Do we really need 4 bridges here in Chattanooga? Not really. What if we go and just close this bridge off to the public and stop maintaining it? We'll say close to half our budget. Sounds good to me. So they did. They blocked off the bridge to the public and stopped maintaining it. Everything was going pretty good for about 7 or 8 years. About 7 or 8 years later, a tugboat come to the river pushing a barge. As the tugboat got on the bridge, part of the bridge fell on him. Hit the barge. Thankfully, nobody got hurt, but the captain did what he's required to do by law. He picked up his Marine Raider and he raided the Coast Guard. From the United States Coast Guard hit the bridge in Chattanooga. Part of it just fell on me. So immediately the U.S. Coast Guard simply went out to investigate to see what was going on. Once they got that realized they weren't maintaining that bridge, they got extremely upset with them. Now you would think, why would the United States Coast Guard care about a city bridge in Chattanooga? We think the city responds to the wrong bridge? Why do you think the Coast Guard may have cared about that bridge? Any guesses? Because they don't care about those bridges downtown like over that Creek River. They only care about these bridges and over this water.
Shipping lane?
Ship commercial traffic. Commercial traffic goes up and down this river. Because commercial traffic goes up and down this river, the United States Coast Guard puts buoys on this waterway. They maintain this river as a navigable waterway. Because U.S. Coast Guard monitors and maintains this river as a navigable waterway, who do you think owns this water? U.S. Coast Guard or the federal government? U.S. Coast Guard says if your bridge goes over my waters, it has to work. So the U.S. Coast Guard says you either fix that bridge or blow it up and get rid of it. City of Chattanooga had no money. Easiest and cheapest thing to do, blow it up and get rid of it. Until 3 women from Lookout Mountain heard about the story and said, no, you're not. That bridge is old, historic, and beautiful. You're going to fix it. Well, they obviously sent it to the mayor of the city council. They agreed to fix it. It took them 10 years, $3 million later, when they reopened the bridge back in 1993, longest pedestrian bridge in the country. Just under a half a mile from one side. Beautiful bridge to go across, just right in Sunset, and Sunset right across the mountains, all the great look back in the city. Well, the bridge takes you to this Coolidge Park, beautiful park with big fields for kids to run around in, big waterfront to play in. But the neatest thing there is a beautiful old carousel. I'll tell you the history of that carousel way back through, beautiful park to enjoy. Now, the easiest way to get to Coolidge Park is just drive yourself there. You can't sit, you can't walk there. There's also a free electric shuttle bus that runs around downtown. Also goes over to Coolidge Park. Also goes into the choo-choo, and I believe it actually continues on to the inclined railroad. So, good job. The island off to our left here used to be called Chattanooga Island. And back in the day, it used to be owned by a logging company. The logging company came in, logged all the big shit. Pretty much been left alone. It's kind of hard to log an island. The guy even left it. Well, back with the dams on the river is obviously a whole lot lower. Usually pretty easy to get from North Chattanooga to that island. So, what do you guys think happened on an island that had been abandoned and left alone? It was really easy to get to from North Chattanooga. What do you think all those high school kids and college kids are doing over there? Studying. We have good kids here at Chattanooga. Yeah, right. What they were studying over there, I don't want to know. I'm sure it was not history. Probably biology or chemistry.
I did not go over there when I was in college.
That was a local hangout where Cameron would get in trouble. They had their moonshine stills over there, their banjos, their fiddles, their bonfires, all types of crazies going over there. Back in the early 1900s, if guys and girls there swimming together, that was a no-no back then. Never mind moving their skinny dipping. So that was a crazy how ever to go to get in trouble. Well, around that time, the McClellan's moved in. That beautiful mansion right up there. The McClellan's moved in, built their beautiful mansion. They loved their view. They loved their neighbors. They loved everything about where they lived, except that island. Especially on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon, Mrs. McClellan invited a bunch of friends over. She had a nice quiet party going on. She might have some classical music playing, serving cheese and wine, tea and biscuits. They would have a nice, quiet, relaxing party. Then they would show up, and they start the party. And they get louder and louder. Their bonfires would get bigger and bigger. Eventually, their parties overshadowed her parties. She was embarrassed, not very happy. Now, if she wasn't very happy, was her husband happy? I don't think so. So she looked at her husband and said, I'm not happy. I want to be happy. Make me happy. So what do you think he did? He bought the island. Bought the island, cut every single tree down, turned it into a dairy farm. Nobody wants to go skinny dipping in a cow patty. So unfortunately, the people of Chattanooga, they lost their party place, got to play shovel. But McClellan's won because now they had a beautiful farm that no script writers worry about. Well, everything was going pretty good for about 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years later, Mr. McClellan woke up one morning, has a cup of coffee, his newspaper, signed his balcony job, beautiful view as far as that paper, drank his coffee. When he sat down and looked over his island was gone. It was missing. It was completely underwater. The floodwaters had come up, washed all of his cows downriver. Caretakers got them up ashore, but the buildings, the barns, the animals, everything else was washed away. Now, does anybody know anything about raising cattle? Like, how many acres does it take to raise one cow? A lot. 2 or 3, 5 or 10. Think kind of depends where you live in the country. I know it's at least more than 1 acre. That island right there is about 15 acres. They had over 30 cows on the island. Do the math. They didn't know what they were doing. Because they didn't know what they were doing, they're very unsuccessful doing. Because they were so unsuccessful doing, they're very reluctant to spend that money again. Buy more cows, another caretaker, just to keep all those stupid birds off of their island. So they kind of hemmed and hawed for a couple of years. Next, the trees started to go back. Eventually, you know what? We should do something nice with this island. So they did. 1954, they donated the island to the Audubon Society. So now it's a bird sanctuary. Trails all to the island. They're a great place for everyone to explore. Just one problem. There's no way to get there. The way to get that island is to figure it out for yourself. So, you know, paddleboard, canoe, kayak boat. Do not recommend swimming to the island, and the current runs pretty good through here. Ever do get a chance to explore that island? Neat island to walk around, explore on. Good job! Woo! That helicopter scopes in there, the wind chimes are way behind, some kid flying an angler in there, scopes on a platform. Behind that helicopter scope, those trees back there, there's an actual sculpture garden. You can walk around it, get close to the sculpture. Really good sculpture garden to explore. That sculpture garden is free to the public. It does close right around sunset, reopens at sunrise, but a really good little sculpture garden to explore up there. That cave right there is an old Creek Indian cave. Before the Cherokee Indians were here, the Creek Indians were here. They actually see it as an old fishing camp. It's actually on the National Registry of Historical Sites. They've actually found buffalo bones in there, Indian arrowheads in there. Neat cave to explore. Unfortunately, just like McClellan Island, only way to get there, gotta figure it out for yourself. So get your own paddleboard, canoe, kayak, or boat. The cave's obviously filled in a whole lot more once the dams came out of the river, water level came up, pushed a lot more mud and debris in there, so it's nowhere near as big as it used to be. Still a neat little cave to explore. Notice any cars parked up there? Parking at the Bluffview Art District is always free. You guys have been here in Chattanooga for at least a couple of days. You're probably going to realize we love to charge for parking here in Chattanooga. Always park for free in the Bluffview Art District though. Word of advice, Sundays, holidays, and after 6 o'clock on the streets everywhere in Chattanooga, free parking. So all day tomorrow, if you're still here, free parking all day. And after 6 o'clock tonight, in about 2 hours, it'll be free parking for an hour and a half. So find street park when it's free, save yourself some money. The McClellan home, along with the building on the left is the third one behind it, now called the Bluffview Inn. Beautiful bed and breakfast. Expensive bed and breakfast, but beautiful romantic bed and breakfast for up there. You guys do get up in the Bluffview Art District. Highly recommend you stick your head in the door and look around it. Maybe they'll show you one of the rooms have available, but a beautiful bed and breakfast floor up there. A couple good restaurants in the Bluffview Art District. You guys like Italian food? Great Italian restaurant there. Tony's Pasta from the Italian restaurant, one of my favorites. Great food, great service, great wine selection. In my 7-8 years living here in China, I've only heard one complaint about Tony's. Show up after 5 o'clock on a Friday, Saturday night, plan on waiting. That's how good of a restaurant it is. They do not take reservations. Want to go to Tony's, get there early. Plan how to box the wine, wait for your table. Red Brain's Coffee House. The guy was either from Paris, moved a couple years. Learn how to make really good truffles and pastries. I'm not a really big coffee drinker, so I really couldn't tell you how good his coffee is. I can verify though, his truffles and pastries and rum balls, really good. The big building above the bluff right there, that is the Hunter Museum of American Art. Everything in that museum is either done by an American or done in America. It's actually one of the more famous American art museums in the United States. The first Thursday of the month, it's free. That was like a week and a half ago. Otherwise, anyone under the age 17 is always free. I believe adults only $15 to $20 to get in. So neat museum, whole bunch of art's a great area to go get up there, get a little art course in your life. Put it with their own carousel. Let's just put it in storage and we'll deal with it later. So they did. They put their own one in storage, got their number one, and they forgot about their old carousel. About 10, 15 years later, someone goes to their storage unit, they found their old carousel. Like, oh yeah, we're supposed to get rid of this thing. Oh, if it works, oh, it wants it. Chattanooga said, we'll take it. So they shipped it up here in Chattanooga, put it together in Cooley Park. After 10, 15 years of sitting in storage with no maintenance, the lights came on, the music came on, it worked. They couldn't believe it was working after 15 years of sitting in storage. They got on the phone, they called Atlanta. Hey guys, thank you so much for this carousel, it's working great. When's the rest of it going to show up? What do you mean the rest show? We gave you everything. No, we have no horses. We have nothing to ride. We have poles to hang on to, music later, that's about it. And I was like, sorry to tell you, well, good luck. Great, we had a carousel with no animals. Well, fortunately for us, about 30 minutes north of here, a place called Saudi Daisy, and it's world famous making carousel animals. So they contacted, hey, can you help us out make some animals? I said, I'd love to help you out. I normally do about 5 or 6 a year. How many do you need? 50 or 60? Great, that's going to take us forever to do. Well, what if we convince you to open a school and you can teach them to make them? Okay, so they did. In the backside of Chattanooga, a place called St. Elmo, they opened up a school and they taught people how to make those animals. So every one of those animals that carousel were carved or painted someone local to Chattanooga. On the floor, for example, little plaques who carved it. The carousel ride cost $1. Well worth riding the carousel. I've ridden this out myself. Love it. Now, does anybody know the difference between a carousel and a merry-go-round?
Look at the markings.
Here, there was a difference. I always thought it was the same thing. Carousel, merry-go-round, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. Apparently, there's at least 3 differences that I've been told. 1, carousels rotate counterclockwise, merry-go-rounds rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. Carousels go up and down. Merry-go-rounds are stationary. And then carousels have horses, giraffes, zebras, elephants, hippos, all different types of animals. Merry-go-rounds only have horses. Those are the 3 different styles I was told. Someone also told me the other day, merry-go-rounds are an American thing. Carousels are a European thing. Although the end of my season last year, a little boy, probably like 10 years old, looked at me, hey Captain, there's 4 differences. I said, 4, so what's the 4th one? I said they're spelled differently. Leave it to a 10-year-old to tell me that one. Good job! Probably find about 1,000 people live here in Chattanooga their entire lives until the meeting on the John Ross Bridge. I'd probably say about 75% of them look at me like I have 2 heads. There is no bridge to go to the John Ross Bridge. No one was local, right? Yeah, we just went to the John Ross Bridge. Everybody in Chattanooga knows that bridge is the Market Street Bridge. It's not Market Street, no, it's the Market Street Bridge. But its official name is the Chief John Ross Bridge in honor of Chief John Ross, the Cherokee Indian. Look back at that bridge there, you'll notice it's a drawbridge. Its official name is just called a Basco Bridge or a double leaf Basco Bridge. Because of those 2 big center-mark places in that bridge there, it is so perfectly balanced, it basically takes about a 50 horsepower motor to open and close. Pretty impressive for a bridge that was built back in 1917, open and close with a 50 horsepower motor. I think it's pretty impressive. But the really interesting thing about that bridge, there are bridges that are upriver and the bridges that are downriver that are fixed bridges that are lower than that bridge. So if your boat can get underneath those bridges, that means your boat can get underneath that bridge without them having to open it. So my question to you guys is, does that bridge work? Who thinks it works? Can you tell me why? Because it doesn't need to. Who was listening to me earlier in the trip? Yeah, who owns this water? U.S. Coast Guard, Federal Coast. That bridge work? It has to work. So, 4 times a year, someone drives on a Sunday morning, blocks off the traffic, opens the bridge, closes it. Opens the bridge, closes it. Goes home, comes back to work 3 months later. That's the government job I want to have. I said, why does this weld the bridge shut? Take the big bridge, weld shut, make a fixed bridge. The only thing I can think of, they just don't want to give that government job. Although it is a historical bridge, like I said, built 100 years ago. When they first built that bridge back in 1917, it was the largest basket bridge in the country. Now I believe it's the 3rd largest basket bridge in the country. So it does have some historic value to it. I still think they just don't want to give that government job. How many baseball fans on board the boat? No? We're going to hear the story anyways. Right there is the AT&T field. That is the home for the Chattanooga Lookouts. They are the AA minor league team of the Cincinnati Reds. Ingle Field, our original stadium downtown, still in operation. Suppose one of the oldest stadiums in the country. Suppose the oldest Fenway Park in Boston. So baseball has always been big here in Chattanooga. During the 1920s, 1930s, a lot of times Major League Baseball teams, really as spring training, they would travel the country and play farm teams getting for the season. 1931, the New York Yankees stopped here to play the Chattanooga Lookouts. 1931, does anyone remember who the 2 big hitters of the Yankees were? Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, both the Yankees, 1931. 7th inning came up. Babe Ruth was the leadoff batter, followed by Lou Gehrig. I forget the 3rd was another famous hitter. Chattanooga Lookouts said I looked at a rookie pitcher named Jackie Mitchell pitch. Any guys ever heard of the name Jackie Mitchell? She was a 17-year-old female pitcher. They select pitchers, the 2 best baseball hitters in baseball history. What do you think she did? 1, 2, 3 inning, all 3 of them gone right here in Chattanooga. Cool story. The sad part of the story, about 6 weeks later, is when women became banned from baseball. They claim that baseball is too dangerous for girls when they get hurt. I think they're a little too embarrassed that Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig got stuck out by a girl. Did not want that to ever happen again. But that's the sad part of the story. The good ending of the story is that at least induct her into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Here at Albert. She's born right here in Chattanooga. She's raised in Nashville. Now, when you think about Coca-Cola, what do you think of? What comes to mind when you think about Coca-Cola? Atlanta. What else do you think of? The polar bear, Santa Claus, sugar, caffeine. One of the trips yesterday said diabetes. It's like, okay, clean your battery terminal with it, takes out rust, clean your toilet with it, tenderize steak with it. Some of my toilet takes out blood. Really not quite try we drink this stuff. Who's ever put peanuts in their Coke? Good, isn't it? Who thinks that sounds disgusting? Try it. It's really good. Something between the sweet and the salt, I don't know, it is really good. Someone back there, is it the polar bear, Santa Claus? Has to be a glass bottle, absolutely. Someone back there is singing Rum Jack or Crown. Someone also back there is singing about the original formula, but we have kids on the boat, so we're not going to talk about that. Who knows where Coca-Cola's headquarters is? Someone said it. Atlanta. Most people think about Atlanta when you think about Coca-Cola. You should think about Chattanooga, though. And the reason is back in the day when Coca-Cola was first being made, the only way to get Coca-Cola is in a fountain drink. You go to the candy store, the pharmacy, the restaurant, they pour you a drink and you go home. Well, in 1894, a guy from Mississippi owned a candy store. What if we bottled Coke? We could sell it to people, they can take it home with them, they can drink it whenever they want to. So he bottled the 6-pack, sent it to Atlanta. What do you guys think? Coca-Cola said thanks, but no thanks. Nobody wants to drink Coke from a bottle. Okay. Years later, in 1899, a lawyer from Chattanooga. He was in Cuba. Found a pineapple drink that was bottled and carbonated. Fell in love with it. Said, we can do this with Coca-Cola. As soon as he got back to Chattanooga, found a lawyer friend. They had a meeting, went to Atlanta, said, we want to buy the rights to bottle Coke. Again, Coca-Cola said, thanks, but no thanks. Well, these lawyers were so sure it was going to be a successful venture, they argued with Coca-Cola. Argued with them for 3 days. Finally, after 3 days of arguing, Coca-Cola, you know what, we're tired of arguing with you. If you want to buy the rights to bottle Coke and throw your money away, fine, we'll sell you the rights to bottle Coke, just leave us alone. So they sold them the unlimited, exclusive rights to bottle Coke to about 80% of the country for how much? $1. $1 for the unlimited exclusive rights to bottle Coke. Within 10 years, over 400 bottling plants around the country. Within 20, 25 years, over 1,000 bottling plants around the country, making millions. And the great thing about Coca-Cola bottling, they kept a lot of their money here in Chattanooga, kind of reinvested in the city, kind of made Chattanooga the way it is today. Tennessee Aquarium, 50% of the money with Tennessee Aquarium is Coca-Cola bottling money. So we thank Coca-Cola every day for making the biggest mistake of their lives in selling the rights to bottle Coke. Rumor has it, they never even collected the $1. So Coca-Cola's biggest mistake became Chattanooga's biggest reward. Now, many of you guys ever heard of the Chattanooga Bakery? Back in 1917, the Chattanooga Bakery had over 100 different products. Today, they only make one thing.
Moon pies.
Moon pie. Famous moon pie packet right across over there. Only place in the world that they make moon pies is right here in Chattanooga where they invented them. Now, the big question is, how many moon pies do you think they make every single day over in that factory? Not every week, every day. Take a wild guess.
Million.
What'd you say?
Million.
1 million.
Oh.
Every day. I don't know how we can eat 1 million moon pies every single day. Now, granted, I do make moon pie minis like the Vice I gave you guys. You get 1 million of those. That's a lot of moon pies. Especially the fact I'm originally from Connecticut. When I was growing up in Connecticut, I never heard of moon pie. We had a thing called the whoopie pie. So moon pies are more of a Southern Midwest thing. That means 1 million moon pies are being every single day by all you Southerners down here. Now, I know you guys like your sweet tea, but that's crazy. Now, who on board the boat does not like moon pies? Get off the boat. How do you not like a moon pie? What don't you, everything? You like marshmallow? Not really? Okay, you don't care for marshmallow, just up the street from the aquarium on the right-hand side of the road, place called the Moon Pie General Store. Go in there and ask them for a frozen moon pie instead of marshmallows ice cream. Ooh, who likes s'mores? Who's ever put a moon pie in a microwave? 5-10 seconds, they puff up, even the scuba ice cream top, even better. Someone told me 20 seconds, they might catch on fire. 5-10 seconds, all you need. Awesome, the texture changes, they get moist again. Really good. Alright, now during World War II, when all the guys were overseas fighting, who was back here in the United States building everything? The women, Rosie the Riveter. Remember Rosie the Riveter? All the ducks that we have here at Chattanooga Ducks are actually original ducks. None of these things are reproductions. So all of our boats were built over 80 years ago, built by women, still running strong. Woo! Go girls! Now they are low high maintenance, but they are still running strong. Just have to make sure you treat them right and take care of them, right? All right, guys, ready to see how fast we can go? Hold on tight when that turbo kicks in. I don't need you guys pulling over on me. Here we go. Hold on.
There we go.
All right, guys, start crawling. I need some turbo. That's it, folks. That's as fast as we can go. On D-Day, when they launched these boats offshore, they launched about 11 to 13 miles offshore. So for 11 to 13 miles with bombs being dropped around, people shooting at the coastal land, the guy sitting here driving this thing used to say, I feel like a sitting duck. Ever heard the phrase a sitting duck? World War II, these guys driving this thing. On land, they get about 50 miles an hour. In the water, about 5 or 6 miles an hour. That was it. Crazy. I'm going to slip this into neutral. Put my wheels back in gear. So now my wheels are turning again, my propeller's turning in. Turn my pumps on, go explore the boat. All right, ladies, remember, over 80 years ago, your ancestry helped build this thing, right? If I'm in trouble, get that ramp there, ladies. You want to stand behind your workout and push. I got one yes. Anyone else? Two of you? Because you two know your work's that good, we're not going to need that ramp there, right? Well, I got faith in your work, girls. Here we go. I got to push that log out of the way. Way to go, girls. Woo! We had no doubt, did we? At least the two of us did. Not sure about the rest of you. Alright, we didn't get too wet the first time, did we?
No.
Should we try this backwards?
Sure.
Hang on. What'd you say?
I said faster.
Is there anyone that really wants me to go backwards? Nobody? Okay, you two crazy people. Come back on my last day of employment. I might give it a try then. But right now, I do like my job. You guys are crazy. Alright, watch the bumper, guys. We actually did have a captain go down backwards one time, about 8 or 9 years ago. Before we had disc brakes, we had drum brakes. When drum brakes got wet, it didn't work that well. He actually lost his brakes and went down backwards. He said when he hit the water, he got a 2 or 3 foot wave over the back of the boat. He said he had water all the way up to here. So yeah, I don't think we're going to try to do that back, at least not intentionally. But if I had trouble getting up that ramp back there, my tires are spinning in the mud, the gravel, the beach. These ducks used to have a system that can deflate their tires, get a little bit flatter, make it grip better. All of this inside and inside of the boat. If someone's going to beat people shooting at me, I'm going to get out of my truck to deflate my tires. I'm going to deflate my tires out of my truck, get off that beach, then re-inflate those tires, all for the safety and convenience out of my truck here. So, deal eventually had back then. Alright guys, have a good time today. I guess thank you so much for coming out today. I'm glad you had a good time. Hope you guys will enjoy the rest of your stay here in Chattanooga. Just remain seated back there until I come to a complete stop up here. I'll come back there and drop the ladder for you.
So we've gotten off and have come for a bathroom break. Nice bathrooms. So Colt, did you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah.
Mommy, did you enjoy it?
Yes, it was nice.
Thank y'all for going with me. Ooh, did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Thank you for going with me. Did you enjoy it?
What?
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing us and going with me. So we've decided to eat at Outback Steakhouse. So we got some mushrooms and a bloomin' onion. So I got the prime rib. Mom, you got the sirloin, didn't you? Mm-hmm. And Bretta got the onion, which he shared with us. Colt ordered the ahi and realized that he is not a fan of ahi, so he and Dad switched plates.
It's okay. I like it.
And Colt's eating the bloomin' chicken. This was an awesome outing and I would highly recommend it to anyone. Thanks for watching and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.